August 16, 1952, near Mattsville, Ontario, Canada, 41-year-old Leonard Hurd was murdered on the side of a country road, shot 4 times with a .22 caliber rifle from the rear passenger seat of his taxi. Mr. Hurd was in the driver's seat of his taxi car. He was shot twice in the head and twice in the back. Mr. Hurd was robbed of an estimated $800 to $1,700. A manhunt ensued for 27-year-old Cornwall, Ontario native Henri Seguin. The primary evidence against him was that a bag was found in the backseat containing his military discharge papers. What was believed to be his vehicle was found in Quebec. Authorities believed he was hiding in the Laurentian Hills as locals reported spotting a man of his description. He was captured in British Columbia December 16, 1952 under the alias of Henri Baudry, his mother's maiden name. He had robbed a bank which resulted in a shootout. Henri was wounded by gunshot, was treated and recovered. His fingerprints were taken by RCMP, which matched Henri Seguin. He was sent back to Ontario for trial after being convicted for bank robbery and sentenced to 5 years. Henri awaited his trial to take place in Cornwall, Ontario, while he was incarcerated at the Kingston Penitentiary for the BC robbery. During his time at Kingston Pen, he was a suspect in a plot to poison the food of a correctional officer. The matter was investigated with numerous suspected plotters interviewed and searched. No poison was ever found. Henri Seguin was tried in Cornwall in 1953, receiving the penalty of death by a jury. Henri pleaded innocent until the very end. On January 18, 1954, while at the Cornwall jail awaiting his execution, which was to take place at 12:01 a.m. January 19th, he mysteriously died an hour before his scheduled execution. Father Villeneuve attended his death cell around 10:15 p.m. on January 18th to give Henri a letter from his sister and to receive a 32-page letter from Henri for his sister. Henri looked ill as he read the letter. He then started having convulsions. He began sobbing and crying. He then lay on his stomach and placed a towel over his head and became silent, only making strange sounds. He was declared deceased at 11:15 p.m., just 45 minutes before he was scheduled to be executed in the jail yard. His scaffold was built and his grave was dug. It was discovered that he used cyanide. A capsule was found in his cell and a vial of glass in his mouth. It was determined that he had been keeping this capsule with him for at least 3 to 6 months. It is believed he made the capsule himself at Kingston Penitentiary and sourced the cyanide at the institution. Henri often took periods of fasting, had bowel issues, often needing enemas which were conducted in his cell. His bowel health decline in periods of fasting was due to the prolonged period of keeping the capsule in his rectum. This is not the end of Henri's story. In 1955, the bones of Fred and Jean Labrie were discovered in a farmer's field near Kamloops, British Columbia, Canada. Henri resided with them, and they disappeared around the same time he robbed the bank and fell into custody. He resided at their home after their disappearance, was in possession of their belongings, which he sold some. He even listed Fred Labrie's truck for sale. The RCMP questioned him. All Henri told them was that they left for a trip. Forensics in 1955 were able to determine that Fred was shot multiple times, just like Leonard Hurd. Jean Labrie was stabbed to death. Their dog was also killed with them. Years after Henri treated the Hangman, RCMP are convinced that he murdered the Labries.